Then I switched to some online Italian schools, which I really like. However, they spend a lot of time on grammar and vocabulary that I probably will never use in my lifetime.
Hi, I'm Lara, founder of Italian by Lara. I'm an Italian language and cultural coach working with adults preparing to move to Italy. My work is about preparing for real life, not just language. Today, I'm speaking with Lara Palazzolo, who will travel to Italy for the first time to explore her future there. Laura, can you tell me a little about yourself?
I am married and I live with my husband and 2 dogs in North Carolina. I've lived all over the country, even lived in Venezuela as a baby. My father worked for the State Department. I've also traveled all over England and France, as well as the Baltic Sea area. And this is my first time going to Italy.
So, when did Italy become part of your story?
So my husband is second generation Italian. His grandparents were from Sicily. They moved to the United States in the early 1900s, where they lived in Michigan their whole lives, where he was born. He's one of 7 children, and probably about 15 years ago, him and his sister got together and they said, we should look at Italian citizenship. And I was like, why do you want to spend the money on that? You're not going to do anything with it. Like, you've never been out of the country. I doubt you're going to go anywhere. And they kind of dropped it. And then his sister got ill a couple years ago, and they brought it back up again because she was thinking maybe for my children. So we finally, December 2025, I have off that time, the 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's. So I'm like, let me see what I can find. So I went and I found everyone's birth certificates and all the documentation we would need for him to apply for dual citizenship. And we hired someone in Sicily to go to the comune and get his grandparents' birth certificates. And everything was looking great. We were gathering all our documents. And then the law changed in March. And it limited it to 2 generations. So all of our nieces and nephews were knocked out of being able to proceed with dual citizenship. But my husband and his brother still are, and we just received word from our attorney that we're ready to file our court case. So fingers crossed. He'll be a dual citizen by next year.
Fantastic. Congratulations. What does Italy represent for you?
Look at Italy as being a place where I can live a healthier lifestyle, a slower lifestyle, a place where you can connect with your neighbors. Because in the United States, you don't connect with people anymore. People drive into their garages, they shut the door. You don't meet people. We've lived in the house that we lived in for 3 years, and we don't know any of our neighbors. I know when I was young, people would come over with a pie if you moved to the neighborhood to welcome you to the neighborhood. They would smile and wave and introduce themselves. That doesn't happen anymore. And it seems to me that that still happens in Italy. They really value family and connection, and that's something that we're lacking. And for our retirement, that's something that we're looking for is connection. Maybe he'll find relatives that are still in Sicily. I don't know. But we're at the time in our life where we can do this. And we both like to travel. And our plans are hopefully once I get my permesso di soggiorno, once we move, that will buy a small camper and travel all over Europe. And then eventually, hopefully with Lara's help, I will pass my B1 and get my citizenship through marriage.
Fantastic. So, Before we started working together, how were you learning Italian?
I started with apps like Jump Speak, but quickly realized that that wasn't going to help me because it was just random conversations that would have nothing to do with my life. Then I switched to some online Italian schools, which I really like. However, um, they spend a lot of time on grammar and vocabulary that I probably will never use in my lifetime. A lot of verb tenses that I'll probably never use in my lifetime in daily conversation with anyone. Um, there are some apps that I downloaded that are more about listening that helped a lot with basic sentence structure. But what was really missing, even though my online school has a speaking club where once a week you get together with other students and speak, there's no feedback. So it's just you struggling in this awkward breakout room with 2 or 3 other people who feel just as awkward as you do, and you don't know if you're doing anything right or if you're doing anything wrong, and you're not getting any feedback at the at the end of the day. So I really felt like I was missing, that component, the listening and the speaking, and every time I tried to speak, even though I know what I'm supposed to say, I would just blank, and I couldn't pull the words. So that's when I came across you, and I thought, well, this looks interesting because this is exactly what I need. I need to be able to speak to the pharmacia. I need to be able to speak to the comune. I need to be able to speak to my neighbors. So, and I need to get some one-on-one instant feedback on whether I'm doing things right or whether I'm doing things wrong so that I can improve and be comfortable.
What can you do now in Italian that you couldn't do before?
I feel a lot more comfortable speaking. Um, I feel better about listening. I feel like I was before I was like I would hook onto one word that somebody said and I would struggle with that word. And you helped me realize I don't need to understand every single word. As long as I get the gist of the conversation, that's all I need. And so that's helped me feel more comfortable in knowing that I can listen to people and understand the basics enough to be able to respond to them.
You are leaving in a few days, Laura. How do you feel?
Yes. Very nervous, but excited as well. It's gonna
If
be
you
a
could
lot.
say if you could say one sentence in Italian when you arrive, what would it be?
I'm not sure what I would say. Probably the first thing I would say would be, "Può aiutarmi? Dov'è il bagno?"
So, when you imagine your first moment in Italy, what do you see?
I expect it's probably gonna be something like my first time in Paris, when I was 12, and I remember sitting in the back of the car, and my mouth just dropped open, and I was just in awe of everything around me, the different sights and, the history and the beauty of the buildings and the life, that's there. And then, I'm just fascinated with seeing especially the southern I don't know much about the northern because I haven't focused on that, but the southern parts of Italy and seeing, these beautiful drives, especially up in Abruzzo, and it's all green and there's mountains, and then there's this village that just sits atop of a rock, and it just looks so enchanting and beautiful, and I can't wait to see that.
Thank you very much, Laura. Buon viaggio.